On this episode, I'm going to show you how to cook a pork loin so that when you take a bite, it's ultra juicy and tender. There's a difference between pork loin and pork tenderloin, and I think sometimes we get confused. A pork loin is going to weigh between 2 and 4 pounds, whereas a pork tenderloin, the smaller of the two, is going to weigh about 3/4 pound to 1 pound. When it comes to the pork loin, always look for a milky, creamy skin, and you want it well marbled meat, and the meat should be pinkish red. I'm going to chop this into 3 pieces, and I want to show you several different cuts. First thing I want to do is trim off that excess piece of fat down the side. Notice down the side we've got a lot of fat. I find trimming this up is one of the best ways for cooking pork cutlets. Now you can take the fat off or you can leave it on depending on how you like it. I just want to show you how to trim. We're pointing the knife upwards and just trimming off this excess fat. And when I'm making pork cutlets, I always trim this off because it never breaks down. I'm going to slice this 1.5 inches thick, and that's a great cutlet. If you want to stuff this, just take the knife and make a pocket. You're not going all the way through, just enough to add some stuffing, and you could add some sausage meat or get creative in your kitchen. Roast these in the oven at 425 for about 20 minutes and you have a stuffed pork loin. If you want to quickly cook these, just slice these to 1/2 inch thick, and these would be perfect dredged in some flour or some breadcrumbs. Cook for about 3 minutes per side. If you're making stir fry, just cut it into thin slices. These could also be dipped in some batter for the likes of sweet and sour pork. Now if we're roasting it, we'll leave the fat on and we're just going to cut it into a diamond shape. I want to show you today how to make a dry brine for this. This will keep it juicier. This is called an osmosis effect. It's similar to what you do when you're actually making turkey, but however we're making a dry brine here. I'm adding some fennel seeds, some salt and some white sugar to a bowl. I'm going to add some herbs. Today I'm using rosemary. You could use some sage, some thyme, or all 3. Feel free if you want to use some dried herbs as well. We're just going to mince the herbs. I'm also going to add some brown sugar and some coarse pepper. If you like a little bit of heat, you could add some chili flakes to this. It's up to you. Now whisk these ingredients together, and then I like to put these in a jar because we're not going to use them all today. This works perfect on a whole chicken if you want to dry brine that chicken to keep it nice and juicy. I'm going to add the pork loin to the board, and now we're going to take some of that mixture and just rub it into the pork. But you want to make sure that you coat all sides of this mixture. What's going to happen is the juice will come to the top of the pork loin and it will go back to the center. It will penetrate the meat, which will keep this lovely and juicy. Once you've got it all coated, we want to cover this with some plastic wrap, just making sure it's coated. Whenever you're dry brining, always place it on a rimmed baking sheet because juices will leak out. We want to let this brine for 6 hours to overnight. Now remember we said those juices would leak out. First of all, look how red the meat's become. As you look at it, those flavors would have penetrated into the meat, but you will notice some juices came out. Don't worry about that because I promise this is going to be juicy. We're going to roast this for 30 minutes to 1 hour, depending on the size of your cut of meat. You're looking for an internal temperature of 140 to 145. It's important to let the meat rest. Let those juices settle. If you cut it too early, the juices are going to seep out all over the board. Just look how it's roasted. Those seeds are going to be so fragrant in this dish. Using a sharp knife, I'm going to slice the meat. As you look inside the meat, just look how juicy it is. Just look at the shine on those pieces of meat and how juicy that is because we dry brined it. I can't wait for you to make this recipe in your kitchen. It's absolutely delicious.